Everything was lining up for the Golden State Warriors in a way that had not been seen. For most of the season, the team was finally finding rhythm, stacking wins, and showing the kind of basketball that reminded everyone why this core has been feared for so long. 12 wins in the last 16 games, a 4-game winning streak. Confidence growing with each night. And another dominant victory against Miami that only reinforced the feeling that something special might be building. The energy around the team felt real, sustainable, and earned on the court. Not forced by hype or wishful thinking. Then everything changed in a single moment. In the middle of what was arguably the Warriors' best stretch of basketball this year, the news hit like a punch to the gut. Jimmy Butler suffered a torn right anterior cruciate ligament, an injury that immediately ended his season and sent shockwaves through the franchise. For a fan base that has already lived through some of the most painful injury moments in recent basketball history, this felt cruel in a familiar way. It reopened memories of past playoff runs, derailed, and championships slipping away because health did not cooperate at the worst possible time. This injury hurts differently because of the timing and because of how well Jimmy Butler had been playing. Golden State was not surviving during this stretch. They were thriving. The ball was moving. The defense was connected, and Butler had become a central piece of why everything felt balanced. His presence on both ends of the floor gave the Warriors a toughness and composure that showed up night after night. Losing him now does not just remove a player from the rotation. It destabilizes the entire structure that had finally started to make sense. There is also the emotional weight of it all. Warriors fans have endured brutal stretches where injuries defined seasons instead of basketball itself. From championship runs altered by devastating setbacks to more recent years, where hope vanished in a matter of minutes. This franchise knows this pain too well, watching another key piece go down, especially when the team finally looked whole, is exhausting and heartbreaking at the same time. It is not just about one game or one season. It is about the constant feeling of wondering what could have been. What makes this situation even more complicated is where the Warriors are on the calendar. The trade deadline is approaching, and decisions were already looming before this injury happened. Now, everything feels heavier. Short-term plans are thrown into chaos, and long-term visions become harder to map out. Do you adjust everything to salvage this season, or do you protect the future? Knowing that time is not exactly on your side anymore, that balance becomes incredibly delicate. When your best players are no longer in their prime years, Jimmy Butler's age inevitably becomes part of the conversation, even if no one wants it to. He has had a spectacular career built on toughness, competitiveness, and an unmatched will to win. But injuries at this stage of a career carry different implications. Recovery is longer, uncertainty is greater, and the margin for error shrinks dramatically. This torn ligament forces questions that go far beyond this season, forcing the Warriors to reconsider how the remaining years of this core should be approached on the court. Butler had been delivering everything the team needed and more. He was scoring consistently, rebounding, facilitating, and knocking down perimeter shots at a level that had not always defined his career. Defensively, he brought intensity and intelligence that elevated everyone around him. More than the numbers, though, he brought joy back into his game. There was a visible spark in how he played, how he interacted with teammates, and how he carried himself in this environment. That energy became contagious. The Warriors were not just winning. They were enjoying the process again. The standings reflected real progress. Momentum was building, and the gap between Golden State and the teams ahead did not feel insurmountable. The group looked connected, confident, and dangerous. Then suddenly, one injury forces everyone to pause and reassess what is even realistic moving forward. Now the big question becomes direction. Where do the Warriors go from here? Do they attempt to move pieces around and aggressively reshape the roster in response to this setback? Or do they stay the course and trust what they have until Butler can return down the line? Every option carries risk. Trading an injured star is emotionally difficult and strategically complex. Holding on and waiting requires patience in a league that rarely rewards it, especially when championship windows are narrowing. This moment also highlights how fragile success can be in this league. A single play, a single landing, and months or even years of planning can be disrupted. The Warriors were playing inspired basketball, executing at a high level, and finally resembling a team that could scare anyone on a given night. Losing Butler does not erase that identity, but it forces others to step into larger roles under far more pressure. Despite the devastation, the season does not simply stop. The Warriors still have Stephen Curry, still have a locker room filled with experience, pride, and competitive fire. The question is not whether the road just got harder, because it clearly did. The real question is whether this group can redefine itself once again, adapt to the loss, and find a new way forward, without losing belief in what they have been building. With Jimmy Butler sidelined, the ripple effects touch every layer of this roster. Rotations that finally felt settled are now wide open again, and responsibilities that were shared are suddenly heavier for everyone else. The Warriors had found a balance where scoring, defense, and playmaking flowed naturally, largely because Butler absorbed pressure and made the game easier. For others, without him, defenses will load up differently, rotations will tighten, and mistakes that were once masked will now be exposed more quickly. Stephen Curry becomes even more central to everything Golden State wants to do. That is not a new reality, but the degree of reliance changes. Opponents will be more aggressive, more physical, and far more willing to sell out to limit his space. Curry has carried teams before, but asking him to do it night after night at this stage of his career is a massive challenge. Still, his presence alone keeps the Warriors relevant in every conversation, because as long as he is on the floor, belief never fully disappears. Leadership now becomes just as important as production. Veterans like Draymond Green and others in that locker room will have to stabilize emotions and maintain standards. This is the moment where habits matter, because frustration can easily creep in. When expectations shift so suddenly, the Warriors cannot afford to drift into a mindset where games feel like placeholders. Every night still counts, and how they respond now will define the identity of this group for the rest of the season. Opportunity, however, often comes wrapped in discomfort. With Butler out, players who have been on the margins or in supporting roles are going to be tested in ways they have not been before. Increased minutes bring increased scrutiny, and consistency becomes non-negotiable. This is where internal development can either accelerate or stall. Depending on how those chances are handled, the coaching staff will have to experiment, trust, and sometimes live with mistakes in order to see what this roster is truly capable of. Jonathan Kuminga sits at the center of this conversation. For a long time, the discussion around him has been about potential, patience, and timing. Now the situation demands action. The Warriors need downhill pressure, athletic scoring, and someone who can attack the paint and force defenses to collapse. These are the very areas where Kuminga has flashed promise if he is given the floor and the freedom. This becomes a defining stretch in his development, not just another chapter of waiting. The pressure on him is real, but so is the opportunity. The team does not need perfection. It needs aggression and confidence. Attacking mismatches, embracing contact, and making decisive plays can change the geometry of the floor if Kuminga can provide that spark. Even inconsistently at first, it could reshape how defenses guard Golden State and relieve some of the burden placed on Curry. Other contributors will matter just as much. Shooters who have thrived off open looks will now see tighter coverage. Role players will need to make quicker decisions, cut with purpose, and defend with urgency. The margin for error shrinks when a primary option is removed from the equation. Every possession becomes louder, every mistake more visible, and every successful stretch more meaningful. There is also a mental hurdle that cannot be ignored. Injuries like this have a way of draining energy from a locker room if not addressed head-on. The Warriors have been here before, which can be both a curse and a strength. They know how fragile championship runs can be, but they also know what resilience looks like. Channeling that experience into focus rather than frustration will determine whether this team stays competitive or slowly fades into inconsistency. From a strategic standpoint, the front office now faces one of its most difficult balancing acts in recent years. Being aggressive could inject new life into the season, but it also risks sacrificing future flexibility. Being conservative preserves assets, but may waste valuable time with a generational star still performing at an elite level. There is no clean answer, only calculated risks that will be judged in hindsight. What complicates everything is the uncertainty around Butler's recovery and future role. A return next season could change everything again, making any short-term panic move feel short-sighted. At the same time, windows in this league do not wait patiently. Each year that passes adds pressure, not relief. The Warriors are forced to operate in that uncomfortable middle ground, where urgency and caution are constantly pulling in opposite directions. Despite all of this, the season still has life. The Western Conference remains volatile. Momentum can shift quickly, and belief can grow in unexpected ways. Golden State has already shown this year that it can respond to adversity. with inspired stretches of basketball. Whether that happens again depends on how this group chooses to define itself now. In the absence of one of its most important voices on the floor, the story is no longer about what the Warriors were becoming with Jimmy Butler healthy. It is about who they decide to be without him, starting immediately, possession by possession, game by game, with no clear script and no guaranteed outcome now. Let's circle back to the Warriors again, because their situation is really the catalyst here. The Warriors are in a position where they have to make a move. And the Lakers are one of the few teams who can help them do it. That's the reality. And if the Lakers play their cards right, they could come out of this with a significant upgrade. But if they hesitate, if they wait too long, then the opportunity could disappear. The Warriors could find another partner. Or they could decide to keep Kuminga and try something else. And then the Lakers are left watching from the sidelines, so the Lakers need to stay engaged. They need to stay aggressive. And they need to be ready to pounce if the moment arrives. In the end, this is one of those moments where the NBA really shows its unpredictable nature. One injury changes everything. One player going down can shift the entire league's trajectory. And that's what we're watching right now. The Warriors are dealing with a devastating loss. But they also have a chance to turn it into something positive. And the Lakers, whether they like it or not, are right in the middle of it. This is the kind of situation that could define the rest of the season. So keep your eyes on the trade chatter. Keep your eyes on the Warriors, and keep your eyes on how the Lakers respond, because this story is far from over. And it could end up reshaping the entire playoff picture. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The NBA rumor mill was set on fire after whispers began circulating around the league that Domantas SABONIS could be on the verge of a stunning move to the Golden State Warriors on a 4-year deal. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the mere possibility of such an agreement has already sent shockwaves through front offices, fan bases, and television studios across the United States. Sources close to the situation suggest that conversations between Sabonis' camp and the Warriors have intensified behind the scenes, fueled by Golden State's desire to retool its core without entering a full rebuild. Sabonis, widely regarded as one of the most skilled big men in the league due to his elite passing, rebounding, and interior scoring, would represent a dramatic stylistic shift for a franchise historically defined by perimeter shooting and pace. The speculation has only grown stronger as league insiders point to the Warriors' long-standing interest in a versatile center who can facilitate offense from the high post. In theory, Sabonis would thrive in Steve Kerr's motion-heavy system, creating new angles for shooters and adding a physical presence that opponents have often exploited against Golden State in recent seasons. The idea of Sabonis operating alongside elite shooters has captivated analysts who see the potential for a devastatingly efficient offense. From Sabonis' perspective, the rumored move raises equally compelling questions. Joining a franchise with championship pedigree and a global profile could elevate his status and legacy while offering a fresh competitive challenge. Skeptics, however, wonder about defensive fit and financial flexibility, noting that a 4-year commitment would signal a major bet by the Warriors on reshaping their identity. For now, the league waits. Whether this rumored agreement materializes or fades into off-season folklore, the mere suggestion of Domantas Sabonis in a Warriors jersey has already accomplished something rare. It has united fans and executives alike in disbelief, curiosity, and relentless debate. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.